very brief. I'll just bring people up to speed on where we're at. As everybody knows, this project's taken some time to get developed, but we're at a point of submitting this to New York State Department of Transportation Region 7 for final design. Okay, and we're right at the step before we do that. We have project costs. We have a project schedule all developed. We have an alignment that's been approved by DOT. Okay, these are some of the sections and engineering details that will be further developed as we go along in the project. The project cost is $960,000, I believe, and some change. Okay, the state is taking, the federal government is paying 80% of that. Okay, and I believe the village is it 20% or 20% of that? So the cost of the project, 80% of the entire project is being funded by the government, the FHWA, under a pass-through program, and the remaining is funded by the village. And actually, the project, even though the DOT is overseeing the project to make sure that we're adhering to design criteria and certain guidelines as the project is developed, the village really has control of the project. Okay, and it's the design team feels that it's the community's project, and that's the reason why we had this open house. Is to kind of we felt there was a need to educate the community on where the project really is. Okay, it's a good project. It has many positive end results for the village. Every riverfront project that we've been involved in for every community has been an enhancement to the community. Okay, and the objective of this is to give a link from the business section to the river. Okay, that's the overall objective. And then there's design objectives that I got to look at, is like ADA accessibility, grades, width of sidewalks, things like that. But the overall objective is to have a good-looking link from the business district to the river. Okay, and that was a link that was missing in this village. And so, if anybody has any questions, I'll be free to answer them. Try to answer them.
Dan, you've got 2 phases of construction on the timeline there.
Mm-hmm.
For bricks and mortar stuff, so what would we see in phase 1 versus what would we see in phase 2?
All right, well, phase 1, we would tell the contractor exactly where he has to start his construction. Okay? So what I'm anticipating is that phase 1 would be what I'm calling the historic corridor, and it would be this, what's highlighted in red here. Okay, that's one segment that would have to be done. That'd be the first corridor that would be completed. The project's broken down in 2 phases on the timeline, but it may be completed in 1, depending on how quickly the contractor can do it. Contractors will look at this and say, we don't like your plan. They'll submit a construction plan to me for approval, and if it makes sense, we'll let them do it. They may try to do it in 1 season. Okay, but we would tell them, though, this has to be done first. Okay, and then in the second phase, the second phase would probably be the sidewalk work. Okay, and we would try to fit this phase first in phase 1, and the tail end of phase 1 would be here, because they could construct this without any impact to tourists and whatnot. So, but contractors, they may change that, but it's subject to approval by the design team. So, I don't think.
No, it does. I was just wondering if maybe if it was a budgeted thing, or if DOT was going to dictate you had to do one part versus another. So it's up to.
We don't want to impact the tourist activity too much. Really, this project won't have it's not a big construction impact, but there would be an impact. I would call it a moderate impact when they're constructing. It's not a heavy impact where they're going to have big staging areas they got to work from. They're going to operate with probably small crews, small equipment. They don't need, bulldozers. The biggest thing they probably would have out here would be a bobcat or something like that. They don't need big equipment. So from that standpoint, it wouldn't be a big impact.
Is this totally handicap accessible?
It's gonna be handicap
It's not
accessible
accessible.
to this point right here.
Okay.
We can't make it because this slope here is basically cliff. And there's no way, I mean, the money isn't in the project to make every inch of the walkway ADA. And so DOT is what we call mitigating the design criteria, okay? So they were comfortable, if we took them to here, but still provided a link for people who weren't ADA handicapped, a link out to Fuller Street, they were satisfied with that, so that's what we did. But basically, and this won't be either, Church Street's out too, it's just such a steep grade. Yes?
Initially, I thought they were going to include part of Casino Island, that walkway around through that area.
Right, that was...
This is not indicated here. So.
Right, there was a, with every project, I shouldn't say every project, but the cost started mounting up very, very rapidly, okay? So the decision was made to cut back in some segments that were deemed not necessary for the Riverwalk.
Well, that's sort of a Riverwalk area.
Right, there's already one sort of developed anyway, so then that was kind of what the argument was. Why are we enhancing something that's already there? So that's why those segments were dropped. Sisson Street was dropped for safety issues. It's just too tight. Yeah. For people, you know, you don't want to put pedestrians out on a curve like that. It's not you're just asking for someone to get hit.
The picture that's up there right now has an awful lot of traffic when the hospital gets busy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a bunch of people crowded in there, and a bunch of people down at the dive park,
Mm-hmm.
and normal going and coming from the back of the hospital, you can't really get you can't get anybody else down there that isn't there already under that circumstance.
Well,
I mean, it's just chock-a-block.
well, the Riverwalk is not going to be on the road, okay, in this segment.
That stripe going right down Market Street showed that it was. There, that's it. Take a look.
No, we're not going.
That
No,
stripe is supposed to be.
right, but this is the true alignment. That's just a conceptual drawing for this presentation. The true alignment was right here. We can't put put the sidewalk out into the road.
There's no difference between what you're pointing at on the plat and what's on the photograph. That's an accurate rendition of the street.
Right.
What's on past that?
He's talking about when we're going to School Park, I think.
Oh, okay. There's the Historic Society. And
Yeah,
there's the
you've
trail.
got the building, you've got
Yeah.
the walk just kind of petering out in front of the Historic Society.
No, it keeps going around the pole here and goes up.
That's one person wide, and it's a cliff going up to the building.
But we're going to remove what's there to make it wide enough for people to go there, is what we're going to do. It'll be a minimum of 5 feet wide, the walkway, the sidewalk. So, I don't know if that, it's not that wide. It's going to be 5 feet wide. I don't know if that's scaled at 5 feet.
No, it's just
a line.
diagrammatic.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna have your work cut out for you. That's all rock.
So they got
He's gonna
jackhammers.
have his work cut out for him.
Pardon?
The contractor's gonna have his work cut out for him, not the engineers.
That's right.
Dan, when we walked that, behind the gentleman over there, that was research and very good, and the way it's designed, it's going to be safe, it's going to be wide enough, and it's definitely going to help out that area. And like you said, it's not going to be in the road, it's going to be beside the road.
Yes.
And I think it's a great idea. And then if you notice the way he went down to the side of the scuba park, then alongside the river, that's excellent. and it's very safe. And it's not just a teeny 1 foot path wide, just like you said, a 5 foot.
It'll be 5 foot.
We measured it, and it is safe, and it's gonna look
Yeah, it is
nice,
safe.
I think.
Yeah, it is safe. Thank you. The minimum requirement for ADA is 5 feet, okay? If I can make it 6, we'll make it 6, but I don't think we can go beyond 6 feet. Initially, we were hoping to do 8 feet from this point down, but it's not gonna happen, that's just too wide. There's right-of-way issues, there's construction issues with bedrock, so 5 to 6 feet is more realistic.
Dan, the width of the boardwalk section over the water is what?
8, that's 8. We want to provide, because this is where people are going to want to go, obviously. And so, once again, we could only make it, from design criteria, what DOT and the feds are going to hold us to, it's got to be a minimum of 5 feet. We're making it 8, because we want a pretty free flow in that area, because there will be 88 people who go up to here, and that's it, and they got to turn around. So, we made it 8 feet.
Do you have a picture anywhere of what the railing's gonna look like?
Well, to begin with, it's right here. This is the timber walkway that's in front of the hospital seawall. Okay. Right now, it's only timber. We're researching what we can fit from a budget standpoint to enhance that. But really, it's a long, that walkway, I believe, end to end is almost 400 feet. And fancy railing is extremely expensive per linear foot. So the cheapest is timber, so that's what we're proposing at this time. Whether it ends up being a combination of timber and metal,
Yeah.
that remains to be seen, so. Thank you.
Come on, I think you must have something.
Well, from what I can see on the construction here, the timetable,
Yeah,
the actual construction is not planned right now until
Yeah.
September and October
Right.
2013.
I want,
2012.
if you're curious about schedule, which is my headache on every project, as a manager, schedules is always a major issue. We're right here, and so you can see that we put there's a lot of work that's gone into the project up to this point. And what I'm showing is what we have to do beyond this point here. Okay, there's a public information meeting, which is a formal DOT and federal FHWA mandated meeting we have to have. There's going to be a public hearing immediately following that, and then I get all the comments from people that attend. We go through them and address them, and then I put them into a final design report. The DOT already has the draft design report. We just have to have some of these meetings to get the comments and resolve them, and then I submit a final design report for approval. And once it's approved, then we go right to the final design. Okay, and we're hoping that we can get bids out next spring and get a contractor on board. And the good news is contractors are hungry right now. And what we're seeing is that that's a preliminary estimate. That's not the final estimate. That will be shown. What's the final estimate? It's called the engineer's estimate. And that's when we have all the details fully developed and we have a much more accurate idea of what costs and the effort and what the contractor is going to have to build. But we're finding bids comparing to the engineer's estimate are generally lower at this point because the economy isn't so good. Contractors won't work. A project like this is a high-profile project for a contractor. I think the village is going to get some pretty favorable bids on this. Okay, that's my speech. Thank you. Yeah.
The elevated thing, is that going to turn into L there? The elevated in front of the
Yeah,
hospital?
what it is,
How is it? I don't understand. how
yeah,
it's
we
turned
don't
out.
have good plan view. What it is that the footprint of the dock, the hospital dock, I forget what, I think it's 20 feet, something like that, by 40?
Yes.
20 by 40.
Roughly, that's
So
good.
we're tucking our walkway almost right up against the seawall. Okay. So basically, it's going to go down to the dock elevation and then go across the dock up against the seawall. Okay, and these stairways, if you're looking at it in plan, looking at it from above, there'll be this, the L will be like this as it comes out from the seawall. So the top of the stairs will be at the top of the seawall elevation, or higher, I should say. And then the stairways will go down parallel to the seawall to the hospital dock. Yeah, I think it's, see that last board?
Well, I see the L, but I still don't understand why the 90-degree turn is. Why is there a 90-degree turn?
Because we gotta have the timber walkway, the pedestrians are gonna be going right here. So they gotta get under it. This is coming up. Okay, here's the landing. Okay, and pedestrians are walking under here. The hospital doesn't want any interruptions at all. So that's why we have,
Oh, that is going to go from the dock up to the
Yes,
hospital.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
And they're going to walk under.
right, so the pedestrians are going under this
Gotcha.
landing here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, what was I gonna say? You wanna give a speech?
Always. This board shows the cultural and historic amenities that we're going to be adding. And the area has such a rich history. We're going to try to show to the average visitor some of the great things that happened here many years ago. All the beautiful buildings and the old hotels. So across the bottom are all the famous old pictures of the old steamboats and the hotels that used to be here. And what we're going to do is basically make some displays that will go up at Howell Park, and that's shown right here. It'll be like a little, almost like a little trolley waiting station with a board on the inside that will have all the old pictures of the hotels. And then we're also going to take, over at the Thousand Island Club, there used to be there still is a corner post that's just a round, you can see it right here. It's round, made of stone, and it's got these interesting points on it. And we're going to take that, we're going to recreate those, and the points are going to be polished granite, and we can put laser-etched images of what the old hotels used to look like with little captions, so it's very durable. And you get away from these boards that are always falling apart. They last about 6 years, and they're gone. This will actually be stone, almost like, you can see them like gravestones, grave markers, they make these. So these will be at various places around the project, so you can see what used to be there many years ago. And then, of course, wayfinding is important, so we're going to have some very nice cast iron poles with banners that say Scuba Park, Howell Ave Park, Historic Society, Village Park, Fuller Street, Market Street, just something colorful that lets people know where they are in the project. And one of the main features at the beginning, we thought it was important to have almost like a front door, so people could see that this is where the project begins. So we've got this little, again, it's almost like a little trolley stop. It's just a doorway you can walk through. It's fairly small. Little metal roof, colonial columns, stone clad base here, and it'll say Riverwalk. So when you're on James Street, you see that, you'll know that if I walk up Howell Ave, I can go on the Riverwalk. We're afraid that Howell Ave is so narrow and hidden that you wouldn't really see it. You wouldn't really know that there's something good happening there.
Did you say that would be laminated, the entrance?
The entrance would be, the foundations would be stone, and then the structure itself would be made out of PVC, all 5-pound. The PVC, it's fairly made, it's very pre-stained. Steel structure inside with a metal roof, very durable. What are you doing for lighting along the walkway? Dan, lighting, you want to address that?
There's no lighting at this time. It's something that would be, one thing I probably forgot to say, we're trying to establish a baseline riverwalk, okay? So that in the future, if you secure funding, you can add on to it. So there's no light, the budget that can't support lighting at this time, it's just too costly. But that's something in the future, I know Terry was talking about, solar powered
Right,
lighting, which is something you could look at in the future.
that's what we were looking at to do is put in some solar lighting poles so that we don't have any electrical costs. The solar lights themselves are gonna be expensive, but if we, spread them out and just add to them as we get more money for the project.
So is it gonna be closed after dark, or what's your plan?
It'd be tough to really close it. That's a tough call.
That's the reason I asked about the lighting on the entrance.
Yeah.
All right. You certainly could. I mean, the structure could have little lights built into it that cast down little eyeball lights, but right now that's not in the project. That would be a whole new, you'd have to have a service to it.
Maybe we can set up a program where if businesses or individuals wanted to make a donation to the project for a lighting project, maybe we could get something like that set up, and put business names on the light poles or individuals that want to donate. We could go that angle.
It'd be in, well, no, I think we're.
The walkway, is that a concrete or is that pavers or what do we got?
Yeah, it's a combination, right, of pavers and concrete?
Yeah, it's on that board right there with the red. The red represents like a brick paver up through Howell Avenue, okay? And then it transitions to concrete. Majority of it's concrete, okay? And then the green is obviously the timber walkway. As part of the program, the grant that the FHWA approved is that we got to do sidewalk improvements. So that's why you're seeing on Fuller Street, Church Street, we're redoing the sidewalks there basically is what we're doing. So, but the majority of it will be concrete. We were hoping to do pavers, but once again, the money was evaporated very quickly. So.
Is there a specific reason, Dan, why you're using pavers on that first section?
Well, that's the historic section. And when we did the budget revisions, and then we looked at what we thought we could put back into it, some of the aesthetic elements, we felt that was an appropriate expense to incur. We had some excess money that we put back into pavers, but they're nice looking, they have a nice visual appearance, they're durable. That's like the historic section of the Riverwalk, and I think you need to have that enhanced as much as the budget is worth. So.
Now, is this going to affect the parking down there by the dive park?
It'll have some impact.
Well, what impact? The reason I ask is that dive park fills right up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an impact of one parking space down there, that is a very significant impact.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a tiny park with a lot of interest for a fairly short time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So what will be the impact on the parking back of the dive shop? And
Well, we have to lay it out because there's no defined parking spaces down there, so I can't say we're going to lose this many parking, this many parking. I would think that since it's a dual use park, okay, it is used by divers and the general public.
Sure is.
Okay, that we would do the alignment in that area to minimize any impact on the parking. But there will be some.
So you don't have a drawing yet showing what the impact on the parking will be?
No, that's fine. That's more of a final design type situation.
Well, if somebody is interested in the use of that space as either a place to watch the river from their car, which a lot of people do, I kind of watch or to change their clothes and get in their little trucks. And some of these
Well, I think
drivers
that we
have
can,
got a
I think that
truck,
we
you
can
know.
work the alignment so that, like I said, it'd be,
I
it'd be
think
minimal or
we
not
need
even.
to do a little engineering work
Well,
on
it
that,
will.
because it's a critical question.
I walked that with the gentleman here, and the other one, 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, the diving was kind of cold.
No, I'm a diver, I love that park, and when we walked and we talked about it, they're gonna enhance it, take my word for it, they're gonna enhance it to where this riverwalk is really gonna give us, when I say this, more parking, and you're gonna be closer to the water. When we were talking about it, we're gonna kinda like push it toward the water 9 feet.
Boy, that would be great.
Oh, yes, no, it's really gonna be great.
But that's why I'd like
Look
to
at
see a
this, it's
drawing.
gonna go right
because
down beside
all
the
of-
building.
Anything
Then hit the
that adds
water.
a parking space down there is
Actually,
fill and
actually
drill.
help it. When they move the pavilion a little bit, you're gonna get another 2 spots down there.
What I would suggest is fill out a comment sheet on that, okay, this is
Oh, yeah.
the purpose of this, so that we
My
can,
comment
if this
is I'd
doesn't
like
get
to see a
lost in the
drawing.
process. Pardon me?
Like I said, my comment is I'd like to see a drawing.
But we haven't developed it to that point.
Yeah, I know, well, that's still my comment.
Well, it's hard to know how they park right now.
Right.
They park,
If it's a random parking scheme, yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for me to
They
say.
park
we're gonna
nose to
lose
the
two
river,
points, lose two
and
spots.
rank and file, and they talk to each other, so that when Harry and Joe go, and Joe parks behind Harry, Harry and Joe know each other, and they agree to that, and that's what happens.
And this is actually going to improve parking down there. I'm sure the divers down there, the better I like it. So I think this is a plus for both the divers and the scenic people.
And there will be nothing behind, the historical museum at all. That's
You mean on the water side?
Yeah.
No.
I was hoping that the eventual scope would take it past it.
I think this is a definite thumbs up. That's my opinion.
Party on, Wayne.
It's a unique project because if you went out to Clayton, what they had, they didn't find a piece of cake, right?